Good morning, everybody. It's Randy Hilarski coming at you from Panama. Today I have a good friend, Mike Brown from Fort Kobbe Vaults. Mike and I go back to 2011 when I first moved to Panama. Mike was the first guy I ever worked with, my first business partner, and he was just a genuine good soul. The guy knows his shit when it comes to gold and silver and pretty much life in general. Mike, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your backstory, and then we'll have you tell a couple of your awesome stories.
Hey, Randy, good to see you again. And also sitting here in Panama, as Randy mentioned, we've been friends 11 years now already.
Yeah.
As it stands now, I'm currently working with a company called Fort Kobbe Vaults, which I'm one of the partners here. Randy's actually been out and seen the facility. We specialize in the storage and logistics of precious metals within Panama. I think that's about the easiest way, and then we can get into the conversation and Randy questions from any of the clients. Anybody watching, please feel free to ask. I'm not, as Randy said, I'm not a guru on gold and silver. I'm a guru on the actual storage of it.
Exactly. And Mike and I were actually part of the setup of the facility back in the day, and that was in 2012, I think, is when the setup started happening. And could you give it tell us about the security aspects of Vault? What's it called? Fort Kobbe Vaults. It's is it still considered a Basel III vault? And
sure.
All right, what does that mean for the people out there?
So we're a UL3 vaulting facility. We actually have two vaults out here. We have a UL2 and a UL3. Now, just that means nothing to most people. So the UL rating is just the underwriter listing rating. So it's a rating of the vaults that are given by the underwriters. It's an international standard. So if you have a vault that's, for example, a UL1 vault, a UL1 defines that it will take, with industrially available tools like diamond tip drill bits, things like that, it will take you 30 minutes to make a hole in the vault. The UL2, you double, so you'll get 60 minutes, and a UL3, you double again, so it'll take 120 minutes to make a hole. Now, we have the two vaults here, the smaller one, which is a 35 square meter vault, which is UL2 rated. That we've dedicated solely to safety deposit boxes. So the UL3 is a little bit bigger. It's a 60 square meter vault. And that one's dedicated to the open and allocated, segregated storage of precious metals. Currently we carry an insurance cap of $200 million, which is underwritten by Lloyd's of London. And we carry $100 million per vault. The reason they allow us the same level on the slightly lower, the UL2 vault, is that the safety deposit boxes themselves are also UL2 rated. So we carry basically $100 million per vault door that we have in the facility.
That's awesome. And the vault's pretty cool. I mean, you guys getting in that place is, you feel like it's worse than an airport. You're trying to go in just to go through all the security measures just to get in.
What we should probably do at a later date, Randy, just throwing this out there, we can actually do maybe a very limited walkthrough of the facility live for you guys and just show you what it. Obviously, we have issues with insurance. We can't show a lot of things on camera, but I'm sure we can work out with them a walkthrough that would not show anything that's related to security.
Absolutely. Do you remember when you had a refiner in there for a little while, a gentleman that was doing the refining, and I got to go in. What's that?
It was a company called Promenka, yes.
Yeah, Promenka, and I remember they had like 400 at the time. It was like $450K worth of gold shot in a tray, getting ready to smelt it into some bars, and I got to put my hands through all the gold, and that was 2014 or 2015,
somewhere around there.
Yeah, so now that'd be almost $1 million worth of gold.
Do you still have any of those old videos where they actually poured the gold shot? They did the live pouring.
I do. It's in my Google Photos somewhere because I never delete that shit. It's good content, so I kept it. Vets and crypto. We got a quick question right here. Question: pros and cons in general of having a third party holding your Roth IRA precious metals beyond security purposes of an individual holding in their abode. Thanks.
Okay, that one's a little bit out of my spectrum in that I'm definitely not an investment advisor and don't know much about the US structure of the IRAs. What I will say is that we do hold a number of accounts for self-directed IRAs. There are various companies within the States that set them up for clients. There are also very particular assets that they're allowed to go into. They can't just pick any gold or silver. It's got to be stuff that's approved by the US to hold it within an IRA. So we do that, and we do the reporting depending on the IRA requirements. So we have one that is managed out of the US, and then every 3 months we give them an updated inventory list, the value, the spot value, etc., at the time of the report. So we do it. I don't know enough about the workings in the background of how the IRAs work, and we can refer people who have those questions to different companies in the States.
I just imagine it has to be switched to a self-directed IRA before you can do it.
Correct. And there's one company that we do a lot of work with called Harbor Financial. They're very specialized in doing that kind of thing. They help with people with international real estate, self-directed IRAs, and the holding of precious metals.
Cool. Well, I have a question for you regarding fake gold and silver bars that are popping up. I remember last time I was in your office, you had a gentleman who had brought in some gold bars to vault, and you test everything before it gets put in the vault. And right in front of the clients, you make sure it's done in front of the clients, and you tested some, and you found some tungsten-filled gold bars that a client was trying to put in the vault.
We've seen a big uptick in that. Specifically in this region, we've started seeing a lot of eagles, US gold eagles that are fake. We've seen Krugerrands that are fake. We've seen the Pam Swiss bars that are fake.
That's the one I saw. Yeah, the Pam Swiss.
The Pam Swiss. And I don't know what's actually going on in the region, but specifically in Panama, we've seen a lot of the Pam Swiss bars that are popping up. So, as you said, we test everything that's coming in. We can do all the different types of tests. We do the ultrasound tests. We weigh them. We do the XRF. The problem with the XRF is that it only penetrates a couple of millimeters into the actual bar. So when you start getting to the 1 kilogram bars or bigger bars, you actually then have to do the ultrasounds and make sure that there's consistency throughout the bar, that there's no change of metals, things like that. And worst case scenario, if it fails all those tests, but there's a possibility it's still real gold, we do have fire assay on site, and we can actually, you drill out a piece of the bar. The issue is it is destructive. We drill through the bar, we melt that down, we homogenize that piece of metal, then we put it through a roller to get a very, very thin sheet, and then we do the XRF test on that, and then that will give us the breakdown.
You guys are, it's getting that intricate, huh? It used to be so simple back in the day. Oh, you could test to see if something was, they just hollow it out, throw a tungsten bar in there and seal it back up, and that was it. Not anymore, eh?
And the fakes are, if you can literally put it in your hands and look at it and examine it and weigh it, and everything looks perfect until you start actually analyzing the metal.
Holy hell, that's kind of scary. So only buy from approved sources, guys. Be careful who you buy your precious metals from. Don't go on Craigslist and go buy from somebody that
or eBay and places like that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, Mike, so you got to be seeing an uptick in people buying gold and silver right now. Are you guys actually a vendor? Can you people buy gold and silver from you?
We don't sell in Panama, but we have a company in the US that allows the purchases, but we also purchase with big mints like Scottsdale Mint out of Arizona. So the clients can actually purchase directly from the mint and then specify that the shipping gets delivered to us here.
Nice. That's really cool. So, maybe those of you guys who do not know out there, Can-Am Bullion's who I work with out of Windsor, Ontario. And if you guys need your gold and silver, he'll hook you up too. And I'll ask him. I'll see what Michael Piccioni says about shipping gold and silver down here.
And also, it doesn't matter who you buy with. Like, for example, if you buy from them or Miles Franklin or whoever you want, what we do is, because of the shipping costs to Panama, we actually consolidate our shipments. So we have an asset transfer service with Scottsdale Mint. And then because a lot of the gold dealers in the States are not used to dealing with the international shipping, they're more local within the US.
Yeah.
So they actually ship it to Scottsdale Mint. They'll repackage inventory, do all the paperwork, the export documentation, etc. And then they consolidate it onto our shipments. We ship in sort of, at the moment, every 2 to 3 weeks, we'll ship down. We aim to ship between 500 kilograms and 1,000 kilograms of combined gold and silver, or around about 500,000 to 1 million is sort of our sweet spot on the shipping. And then we'll consolidate. If you buy at another place, you just tack it onto one of our shipments and consolidate it with us. So, because a single shipment down here, you have basic costs like the shipping, the insurance, the armored carriers, customs brokers, customs fees, things like that.
But I mean, if they fly directly into Panama Pacifico, or does it still fly into Tucumán Airport, International Airport?
Okay, a couple of things there. So one, yes, we can bring private clients into Panama Pacifico, which we do. We help them with the flight, the logistics, the FBO, all of that. And then we're still the only company within Panama Pacifico, because it's a free trade zone, we're the only company that can process the customs for assets at the airport. And then we organize the armored transfer from the airport to the vault. Now, any other commercial stuff, like if we do the big shipments, generally that will come into Tucumán, and then we'll do the armored carrier from Tucumán across to Panama Pacifico.
Okay, that's cool. Well, Mike, you know that I am a crypto guy, and
yes,
we were talking a couple of years ago about you doing a vault for protection against radiation, and what's it called? The cage.
The EMP.
Yeah, for the protection against EMP. Did you guys actually go forward and do that, or are you still planning on doing that?
No. So what we did is we have smaller. It's like a server vault, which is 100% copper mesh. Now, these we bought out of the States. I can't remember the name offhand, but they supposedly are 100% EMP proof, wireless sniffing proof, things like that. So we allow the storage of cryptos in there. Our big issue is we can't actually insure cryptos because of the volatility. We looked at it very carefully with Lloyd's, and because of our insurance cap and the dangers, this is at the time when Bitcoin was still going from 10,000 in the morning to 25,000 in the evening.
Yeah.
Our big issue was the volatility, and how could we ensure that and constantly calculate it, because our premiums change as the insurance rates change. So as it stands now, our systems calculate our insurance exposure every 15 minutes, and then we update Lloyd's of London once a day. They don't get a breakdown of what we hold as in coins, bars, etc. They just get an exposure by precious metal. But the volatility on that is not as hectic as the cryptos. And we know before we reaching a specific insurance cap that we need to increase the cap or not. Where with the cryptos, there's just no ways we can bounce up between 50 million to 180 million back down to,
because that's what they do. That's normal. It's like gold is like the 750 or the 747 just lumbers along, goes up, it goes down.
Right.
Crypto's like F-16. It's all over the place, or more like a UFO. It's just like flying all over the place.
We don't see that kind of volatility in gold at the moment. Touch wood.
Yeah. So yeah, this what the that's what it's for. The Faraday cage is for hardware wallets. What I was thinking about, another option, and it won't be able to be insured the same, or probably won't even be able to be insured at all, is building your own little Faraday cage and putting it into a regular safety deposit box with your hardware wallet. That way it's protected at least, and you just don't have the extra insurance on it. You just don't have. Yeah. Can you just do that? Just use a regular safety deposit box like you would at a bank?
We've had a big increase. If you go back 4 or 5 years ago, we never had crypto clients. It was just unheard of. We could take all our clients and fit them in a square box, and it's all the baby boomers. It's the guys that are traditionally the silver bugs, the gold bugs, etc., that are looking at this type of asset as a protection. And then once the cryptos really took off and the Bitcoin started going up, we saw what happened. We had a lot of clients who wanted to profit take from the Bitcoin and go into precious metals for long-term holding. And by doing that, we then started getting a different type of client, a much younger client. We had the guys anywhere from 20 to 40 years who were big into the cryptos, doing the profit taking, starting to store the precious metals, and then looking at the facility, looking at the safety deposit box. And we get what they do now is, okay, obviously we can't insure their cryptos, but they put it on a hard wallet and they put it in the vault, and then they have multiple hard wallets all over. I'm not quite sure the whole setup that they use, but
yeah, we all do it different. We all have different ways of storing our cryptos.
Yeah, and we have guys who actually, we had one guy bring in plastic where he had engraved some codes onto the plastic, and that he just locks in the box and forgets about it.
Yeah, those are his seed phrase. And what we do recommend is they put it on steel or something that has so heat can't melt it, right? So you put it in that, and that way you just put it into the safety deposit box, and you only get it when you need it.
Correct. So it's been very interesting to watch the change and the change in the type of client and the thinking of the clients.
You got me thinking now too. Are you guys buying and selling crypto?
We can arrange it. You can buy and sell precious metals. You can buy with crypto into precious metals, and you can sell from precious metals back into cryptos. Again, that's not my forte, but I know that it's all done on one of the stable coins, I think USDC, so that there's no fluctuation as the gold or silver price changes. We're not double dipping on the fluctuation and
absolutely.
The crypto and the gold and silver,
or double getting screwed, right? Because either way, because it fluctuates so quickly. I think people here, most of my viewers are North Americans, Canadians, US, and some. I have a lot of UK viewers as well, and they're not used to the structure that we have here in Panama. I could literally go buy crypto right now. I can contact my Czech guys over on Calle 50. They've got their office. I've got you. I've got a couple friends that are dealers. Just go buy crypto anytime I want. And everyone's like, how can you do that? How is that legal? Because Panama is still pretty free with crypto. It's not 100% legal, but it's also not illegal. So people do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah. It's been interesting to watch, and it's going to be interesting to see where Panama is going to end up on the crypto scale. But there's a lot happening. There's definitely a lot happening in the market here.
Here we go, Mike. We could be selling these on Amazon. Tiny Faraday wallets, Faraday cages for hardware wallets.
There we go. Definitely something we can look at doing.
Yeah, just call it a crypto Faraday, and people will buy it just because it says crypto Faraday on it.
What most of the clients do, they have those RF bags or the protection. They use those.
Yeah, I'm saying you got to just call them crypto bags.
Crypto bags,
or something simple, and people buy it just because it's got the crypto stuff on it.
That's actually not a bad idea.
No, it's not. They're vets in crypto. Get on it, buddy. It's your idea. Go for it. Okay, so I want to tell people you're the guy. When I tell the story all the time about you and I, when we used to pick me up in the morning on the way to work and to the office, and one day it had to be we were in your Kia at the time, and you said to me, we should buy some Bitcoin, and I. It was in 2011. It had to be fall of 2011. I just started working in the office with you, and you told me that we should buy some Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was $7 each at the time.
Yeah, that was your idea, and we were looking at mining it back then.
Yeah, mining all kinds of things. I remember I wrote an article about it, or I wrote something about it, and I found it really intriguing. But it was only $7 at the time, and we didn't do it. And I think it was just under a year later, it hit $1,000. We were like,
that was crazy. That was hindsight is 2020 always.
Yeah. So for you guys who did not know, Mike is also ex-military like myself, except different military. Tell us a little bit about. I want you to tell the SEAL story. I know you can't tell many stories from your back in the days. I don't know. You were kind of like a UDT guy, right? Or like a diver.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say special forces because I don't know if exactly was special forces, but you were a diver.
No, I was in the South African Navy.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, the SEAL story was a fun story, or not so much. It ended with me spending a couple of weeks in the second military hospital in South Africa in Wynberg.
Tell the story because it's fucking funny.
But what we used to do, obviously, when you're in the military back then in those days, if we were earning in rands. Now, if you convert the rands now to dollars, my salary per month was less than $18 a month.
What? But they fed you.
The rand has definitely tanked very much against the US dollar. But also to supplement our income, they used to have the old 76 mil cannons on harbour walls within the naval facility. And all the cannon shells used to eject over the walls and out to sea. So what we used to do was in the evenings, we'd go swim all the way out to the end of the walls and collect a couple of the cannon shells, and then polish them up because they're 100% brass. And then just clean them up and then sell them on the flea markets. So you could basically make a month's salary with a shell or two.
Wow.
But the one night that we were doing this, we used to dive alone. We'd take it in turns. And I was fiddling around on the bottom, being close to a harbor, very muddy, had the flashlight with me and looking for a couple of the shells lying around there. And suddenly just got smacked in the back by something. And being Cape Town and within False Bay, which is well known for its abundance of great whites, that's the first thought that sort of pops through your head. You start checking the various limbs that they're all there. And I couldn't figure out what had happened at that point. And now there's mud everywhere. You can't see anything. You just see this sort of dim glow where the light is. So I picked up the flashlight, the torch again, and then this thing just kept hammering me and actually bit me in the back, tore off the fins. And then in those days, we used to dive with the old double tube dive tanks. It had the Drager, and it had actually tore the one side out and then pushed me up to the surface. So I was holding my breath, and your lungs expand, which they shouldn't do.
Right.
And I ended up having an air embolism and spending a couple of weeks, courtesy of the South African Defence Force, in hospital there. So, yeah, needless to say, I don't do stupid stuff like that anymore.
But what got you? What did you think that bit you?
It was a seal, and it was a well-known seal in the area. They used to call him Ahab the Arab.
Ahab the Arab. He wasn't too friendly to you guys.
No, he was never friendly.
What the hell were you doing diving in off the coast of Cape Town? That is like the most well-known area for great whites. I mean, seriously.
No, you never have problems with sharks diving. That's more of a myth. I think if you look around the world, you can probably count a couple of shark attacks underwater on divers.
Okay, so it's still mostly just the people on the surface.
Yeah.
Flailing around like Sith Wave said that seal was a dick.
I'm in agreement on that comment.
Oh man. So all right, let's tell some people always want to know about Panama. And we both lived here a long time. You've been living all over the world. I mean, you lived in France. You were a very successful company over there. You lived in off the coast of Honduras on Rotan Island.
Correct.
I remember you told me that story. And how many years did you live in Rotan?
I moved there end of 99 and then moved across here in 2007, December 2007 to Panama.
Oh, cool. By the way, did you ever sell your house in Rotan, or do you still have it?
Still got it. Still sitting there.
Just sitting there. Well, the property's got to be worth something. They're still talking. You go on YouTube, everyone's always talking about Rutan Island. Like it's the best place.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful place to live. I think the issues there are still more the crime issues.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
It's
because it's Honduras.
Place to live. Very vibrant expat community. Vibrant. The regional islanders that live on the island are fantastic. I don't know if you know, it was a part of British Honduras. So most of the original island families are all English speaking. Here I was thinking I'd improve my Spanish moving to Honduras. Didn't work out so well.
And at that time you were still working, you were doing private security, I remember.
Correct.
And you took one, you got a bullet in you, I remember. You got shot and
that will gloss over, but yes.
Yeah. Ouch.
Ouch.
And then you moved to Panama. So you've had I remember you came here and you, like all of us, started early. We start small and we build something up. And you were a great inspiration to me. I was a new expat. Or we should say immigrant, because that's really what I was, because I wasn't going back to the US. I decided, this is my new life and I'm going to make something of it. And I remember when you first started helping me with the gold and silver sales team, you said, just do your best with it, but don't be like these guys. You kept making it clear, like, don't be like, because it was like a call center. Everyone's just on the phone all day long. I mean, they're making calls and trying to sell gold and silver and other metals. And I said, you know what? Okay, so I'm going to use the internet. And I did really well. I was making sales on the internet. I was getting people interested. And then you're the one who went to the founders and said, hey, let's get Randy over here and help us do this from a marketing standpoint, because he understands the internet and he understands social media. And it's because of you gave me that first chance to really to flourish, right? To really come out and say, dude, I can do this. And it just went from there. You've
done fantastic.
Yeah, it's like the internet is really the internet was really made for me, even though my background is military nursing and that kind of stuff. Dude, I just took a hold of this stuff and went with it. And you got me into Google Plus. I know it was one of our friends that gave me the link to sign up for Google Plus on like day 3 of Google Plus. And that's how I have my check mark on YouTube, is because of Google Plus. I had 118,000 followers over there.
And you were one of the bigger guys in Latin America.
Yeah. Google called me and they said, what the hell are you doing? Remember, they called me when I was in the office with you that day. And they gave me a year later or so, after I had left the company, they gave my wife and I a check mark saying, wow, you guys are doing such a great job. Here you go. And yeah, Mike was in the office the day that Google Chile called me, the heads of South American Google. That was a pretty wild day. It's amazing how life just turns. And people say, Randy, well, it sounds like you had it made and you came down there. Man, I only came down to Panama with like $3,000 in my pocket. It's not like I came with a lot of money. And that in the beginning when I was there was no salary. It was commission only with the company I was working with. And then we didn't get a salary until we started doing the marketing company. And people like, oh, Randy, you had all this, it was all set up for you. And man, no, it wasn't. It took a lot of work. And the same thing with you. It wasn't easy for you when you first got here either.
You built that from scratch as well.
Yeah, built it from scratch. And then when we left, it was the writing. Remember, I was writing for the website. What was it called?
You did all the books for the escape artists.
That we never published those. They were garbage. So we never published them. But no, then I was writing the articles for some website that we had, Panama something, expat living. I can't remember what it was called. And that's really how I really got into the writing game and started. Then when that ended, I got with goldseek.com. That's how I really got into the gold and silver world, got to meet people and be friends with them. And that's where it all took off, because GoldSeek, they paid my bills for 2 years. And during that time, we built up our social media channels and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to say thank you, Mike, because you're really the guy that really put me on the map in the precious metals world. Got the foot in the door, and I appreciate it. Really will. Really do.
It's an absolute pleasure, but I think it was a mutual. You pushed me as well. Which
it's all good. You know what's funny is that I hadn't seen Mike in since we went to Mexico. He bought all my silver from me before I left, and what I had left, and
It's still sitting there in the vault, by the way.
That's cool. They're Chinese pandas, so they're worth a little bit more than a regular silver coin. And I just messaged Mike on Friday asking if he wanted to do the show, and he said, "Yeah." I think it was Friday or Thursday or something. And then the next day or 2 days later, we saw you in our neighborhood. You're doing a meeting with a Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
How weird is that, man? I hadn't seen you. I'm like, what are you doing in our hood?
Always works that way.
Yeah, exactly. So, what are your thoughts about the gold and silver world right now? We got these interest rates today. It looks like there's going to be an announcement. It should be any time now, right around noon. The Federal Reserve is probably going to announce another 0.75 interest rate hike. Do you think they're going to go dovish soon, or do you think they're going to keep raising rates?
It's a very good question. It's how long can you keep raising the rates for, which is a concern. It's been, from our side, as far as the metals, it's driven a lot of people into the purchasing. I think that, well, you go back a couple of years, the whole world's changed since the start of COVID. Our big jump in sales really came when COVID kicked off and they started the lockdowns. And if I remember, I think it was the 18th of March, 2020, when all the markets crashed. Mm-hmm. What we held in stock in the vaults, the following morning was gone within a couple of hours. There was just panic buying. And I know silver closed on that day. The spot price was at about $11.75, somewhere around there.
Wow.
If you tried to buy a single silver eagle, you were looking at $44 to $50 per coin, if you could even get it. Now, sorry, I'm going to divert a little bit here from your original question, but what that did for us is we suddenly realized at that point, we looked at our insurance, because most vaults in the world, you're insured at spot. So you have the general risk or vault insurance at the spot price of the metals. And yes, technically we were still fully insured, but our insurance with Lloyd's of London is to actually replace the metal. So if, for example, you have a single gold eagle stored with us and something happens to it, they don't just go look at the spot price on the day of the event and say, right, we're going to pay you out in whatever fiat or paper currency, the value of spot. They actually will repurchase that coin from one of the dealers in the States or somewhere else. They will ship it to us. They will insure the shipment. They'll do all the customs, everything to put that exact same coin back in your hand here at the vault. So that suddenly presented us a major issue, because, yeah, technically we were insured at $11.75, but to replace the coins, we were now woefully underinsured.
Because the physical costs way more than the actual spot price.
Yeah, because previous to it, there's always been a difference in the price between physical and spot. Because you've got to produce a coin, you've got to ship it, you've got to mine it, you've got to mint it, you've got to do everything about it. So there's always been this difference, or the premium that we see on gold and silver. But that was the first big sort of split between the spot and the actual purchasing price of the physical. And we actually sat with the guys from Lloyd's, the broker in the UK, and we said, right, how can we fix this? So we came out and, for want of a better word, I'll say a top-up insurance. So we actually have a separate insurance above the spot price that just covers the replacement cost, the purchasing, the difference, the shipping, the customs, insurance, transport, everything to put it back here. So we've maintained that now, because the difference in the premiums has come back down, but they're still not where anything close to what they were. And look at the silver eagle at the moment. Spot's running around $19 something today. And you go online, you're looking at $36, $37 for an eagle. So those premiums are still very, very high.
Yeah, that's what Michael was saying last week, or when our last I talked about gold and silver, and he was saying it's getting to the point where he doesn't even want to sell his gold and silver anymore, his physical, because he knows that the spot price and the real price is going to keep separating, and it's going to get out of control as the spot price breaks down. The shorting that J.P. Morgan's been doing over the years with silver coins. Um,
and Comex and things like
Comex, yeah, Comex is running out of physical, and this is shades of 2011 when we were selling gold and silver, but I think it's much more broad and more of a worldwide phenomenon this time, and it's just going to get way worse. One of the issues I tell people about is the BRICS. The um, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now Argentina is joining the BRICS. So you got all these asset out of the ground countries. They want to have a new currency that's backed by hard assets, whether it be oil or gold and silver or natural gas, whatever they produce. And I think that because they're hoarding and they want to get as much of these physical assets as they can, I think there's going to be more of a separation, right? Because the Western countries, like Canada, they sold almost all their gold and silver reserves. They barely have any left compared to what they used to have. And in the U.S., we have no idea what's in Fort Knox. Really,
it's not audited.
It's not audited. It hasn't been audited since the 70s or something like that. So that's pretty scary to think that the West doesn't have as many precious metals as we think they do. And if the word gets out that they don't, holy crap, the spot price is just destroyed. And you're not going to be able to get a hold of gold and silver physical. It's going to be so expensive.
Well, we have seen it amongst the clients. Nobody is selling. Everybody's just buying and buying. But again, interesting. Remember when we first met, you told me you were a silver bug.
Always been, yeah.
And there's always been the guys that are silver bug and you have the gold bugs. You don't, very rarely do they mix. They always argue the value of their metal. But what we have seen since COVID is just about every single one of our clients that was a specific bug, be it gold or silver, has rebalanced their portfolios.
Interesting.
And a lot of the guys, the gold guys tend to stay heavier. They're still 60, 70% gold, but they've gone for silver. And the silver guys still are heavier on the silver, but have also taken up 30, 40% of their holdings in silver.
Well, with the spot price, it's so out of whack right now. It's like 90 ounces of silver buys 1 ounce of gold. And in the ground, it's more like 10 to 1. And I never understood why a metal that's used in everything, like our cell phones and our computers and everything, silver's used in abundance. Where electric cars, everything needs silver, solar panels, all that, and gold is used very little, and maybe some in electronics, your computer, maybe some circuits, those kind of things. But overall, the amount of use of silver is way more than gold. And there's going to come a point where there's just not enough silver to go around, and people are going to be mining garbage dumps to get silver. That's how I could foresee the future. Maybe not 20 years, 30 years from now, but maybe 100 years. These old dumps are going to turn into mines.
And a lot of the silver is actually a byproduct of mining. It's a byproduct of the gold mining. There's very few mines that, well, there are mines that are dedicated to just silver, but often it's a byproduct. And if you look at some of the uses, a lot of the silver that is used, like water purification, things like that, is not recoverable. Once it's been used, it's gone. Mm-hmm. So there's no... Germany, I don't know if you saw, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Germany actually put a 19% tax on the purchase of silver. Whew. So I think we're starting to see, especially as you're saying, Comex now, the numbers are low. They're not holding the stock that they were. I think we're approaching a point where silver might actually shine again. Or we keep hoping.
Yeah.
We keep saying that for how long, but...
My family will be very thankful when that happens, because we're definitely more on the silver side. Gold is cool, and I have a couple gold coins, but it's nothing I would write home about. It's like, but the silver stacks, yeah. When I remember back, I got a cool story about this. My family had a candy business, Hilarski's Chocolates. Before that, it was the Rochester Candy Company, going back to the 1860s, right? So my family, they were the first ones to have marshmallows manufactured in the U.S., all that kind of stuff. But in the 70s, or early 70s, when the U.S. went off the gold standard, they stopped issuing In the 60s, it happened in 1964. They stopped issuing silver coinage and they started going to the nickel plated, quarters and dimes that we have today. And my dad said that every day during the 60s and early 70s, he would go in, he would take out all the silver coins out of the change drawer from the candy shop. And my dad had bags and bags of silver coinage and he kept it all. He still got it.
Junk silver.
He didn't need to go buy his gold and silver. He just got it in the change.
Oh,
So I told him, why didn't you sell it in 79, 80 when silver went absolutely nuts? He goes, because I knew it was going to go higher. I'm like, okay, you're right. But it might not be for, this is a long time to wait. 1980 to 2023.
Yeah, 90% silver in those coins. We have a lot of clients that collect that. It's still not just your dad. A lot of people still collect the junk silver.
That's the stuff that I didn't even, when I was a kid, I used to be, I had thousands of silver coins. For Christmas, my family was weird. I know there's some families that just give their kids toys. I got silver coins and stuff for Christmas, my birthday, and and collectibles like baseball cards and comics. Everything I got I was into collectibles, and like I would, if I was alive today, or not alive today, but I was a kid today, I would probably be the NFT guy, right? Collecting the NFT cartoons and that kind of stuff. I always wanted my stuff to be worth more money. And it saved my ass when I was broke in the Navy and I had to pay insurance and stuff because I could just go down to the local pawn shop and sell some of my silver. Sad, but I did it. All right. So, okay, we're up at, we're 11:40. All right. So what do you think about Panama today? How are you feeling? Because people keep asking me, everyone wants to, I'm one of these guys. I don't want more people moving here. I kind of like the way it is. Kind of selfish that way. But what do you think of the terms of Panama politically and where we're going? We saw what happened in Brazil this week where they went more socialist. I tweeted out about all the different countries that are leaning socialist. Chile just voted socialist. Argentina's been socialist for a long time. Well, what are your views on what's going to be the future of Panama?
Look, Panama's changed a lot. It's been good to me. It's been good to you. As you know, my wife's Panamanian. I really enjoy living here. And if you look at Latin America, Panama still is hands down the safest country in Latin America. Part of what we do every day here at the Vault, we sit down, myself and the other partners, we'll sit down and we analyze what's happening in Latin America, country like Panama, and the world. We're constantly saying, is this a good jurisdiction? Is this the best jurisdiction? If not, what are the other jurisdictions? I think it's still hands down one of the better jurisdictions worldwide at the moment. Talking about confiscation of metals, if you had asked me 5 years ago, what are the probabilities of the US, there's precedents that confiscated before, but if you had said to me, what did I think of it happening again? I would have said odds are just about minimal. But with the way the world's changing now, I think it's something that it's worth looking at. And the other countries that I think are going to start looking at it, they're going to increase the import duties, taxes, all these things on precious metals. And from our side, from just the business side, it's still been, Panama's still, I think, currently one of the better jurisdictions. As far as a country, I worry about the current government. I just don't think they're spending the money where it should be spent. We've seen the breakdown of the infrastructures, the roads, things like that, but I think that will turn around again. I don't think Panama's going to go left. I stand corrected on that, but it's a gut feel. I think it's going to carry on pretty much in the same vein it is. I don't know if you know, they changed the friendly nations visa here, where you have to invest a minimum of $200,000 to be in the country, which initially, when that happened, we literally went from seeing 3 or 4 clients a day to 0 overnight. People just stopped coming. But then COVID hit. And then all these other things where people are looking for other, you look at Europe, you look at the war with Ukraine, you look at the economy in Europe, you look at all these things that are happening worldwide. Panama still has liberties. It's still a nice place. You still got freedom. Banking's a nightmare here. That's the only thing.
Carry a gun.
Yeah, you can carry a gun if you want here. It's a long process, but you can legally do that, which a lot of other countries don't allow you to do that. But I still think, for the meantime, Panama is actually a really good spot to be, and we're getting a lot of foreigners moving here that are leaving other areas and every time, like Peru goes, you get everybody coming from Peru. Colombia went left, everybody comes from Colombia. The current government, the PRD government, is actually a socialist party, if you go into the history of them. But they act, although they're socialist leaning, they still act in a very open way.
Self-preservatory, or I don't know. They take care of themselves.
Correct. But I really don't see that that's going to change. I think the elements is, I think there's a lot of Chinese influence here in Panama now, especially with the breaking of the diplomatic relations during the Varela government with Taiwan and taking on China. I do believe there's a big influence. And I think China's going to try to expand that influence here in the region. Where it goes, remember, Panama was run by the Americans for a long time. They had a strong influence on the canal. They had the U.S. military presence. In fact, I think you were posted down here at one point, weren't you?
97, I was stationed at Rodman.
And where the vault is, we're on the old Howard Air Force Base, which is now a free trade zone.
Yep, so your vault is, I used to work right, where the old Burger King is?
Yeah.
And across the field, there was where General, geez, I can't remember his name, General Wesley Clark. I worked in his building and where the skiff was. And yeah, good old days. That building's gone now. It's a park now.
But I do believe the U.S. still has a strong influence on Panama and has a strong interest in the well-being of Panama because of the canal. I think the canal's probably lost a lot of its strategic military importance because the wars are not going to be fought by naval vessels anymore. We have missiles, we have space, we have all these other options. But as far as commercial shipping, it's still a strategic shipping point for the world. And it's in everybody's interests to maintain it as such. So I do think we'll have the protests, we'll have all kinds of things happening in the country over the next few years, but I still think we're going to remain a stable country.
We've definitely seen the change in the wealth. I was telling you the other day how the differences in just in our neighborhood, seeing the people asking for money and people selling stuff on the street, where 10 years ago you didn't see that in this neighborhood. This neighborhood was one of the upper level expat neighborhoods, Elk and Greyhoe, and now you go down there and once it gets towards 7 p.m. or so, it's time to get in the house. With my kid, if it was me and my wife, it'd be no problem. But with my child, I don't want him to be exposed to a lot of stuff that happens on our street. It's all tattoo parlors now and bars. Excuse me. So I think Panama has changed. It's going to take a lot to rebound. Trying to be an expat here now is so difficult. To try to move here, you got to really jump through hoops, or you have to have a lot of money. It's getting really rough here. For that, Wake Dog says, is it true the U.S. is running out of physical silver and overselling paper silver? The Economic Ninja reported that yesterday, and I love you, Randy. Yeah, the Economic Ninja, I do watch him. We were just talking about this a second ago, Wake Dog, where the COMEX is running out. They have very little silver left, and they've been overselling paper silver for years. I don't even know the exact number, but it could be like 90 ounces of paper silver per 1 ounce of real silver. It's some ridiculous number. And if it blows up, it's going to blow up big.
You can actually look on usawatchdog.org or the debt clock, usadebtclock.org. And it will actually show you the numbers, the paper to physical for both gold and silver are live on the site there. Whether that's reality or not, that's another question.
Here's a question from Mike. How much control does Panama have over the special economic zone? Could they decide to take it by force if they wanted?
That's an interesting question. Would they take it by force? I don't think so. How would they take it by force? Panama doesn't have a military. That was part of the agreement with the states of the handover. So there is no military in Panama. You have a police force of, at any point, between 20 and 30,000 active personnel on duty. I don't believe they'd try to take over the free trade zone. There's no reason for them to. It's part of the Panama national territory. It's an economic free trade zone, and in this particular one, there's over 300 international companies in the Panama Pacifico Free Trade Zone. From our side, I don't know if maybe you're looking more, would they come after the vault itself? No, I don't believe that would happen. Remember, we're a Panama company. We're in a national company in Panama, and we're in Panamanian territory. I won't rule out if there's a complete World War III that people would try to come for the vault, but that would be a problem you'll have anywhere in the world, not just here. And again, I don't think it would be the Panamanian government at that point, because they'd have bigger problems to worry about. As far as, I think maybe you're getting at more, would they try seize assets here for something? No. The way we've structured the company never holds the assets of any client. The assets are always fully allocated, fully segregated in the account holder's name. They never belong to us. They never appear on our books. They've got nothing to do with us. They belong to the client at all points. If you happen to commit a crime or something like that, then at that point, yes, the government can come. They'd have a warrant. They'd say, listen, we're looking for Joe Soap, and we'd have to disclose that Joe Soap has something here. Obviously, we have to comply with all Panamanian law, which we do. So I really, as far as somebody seizing or the government seizing Panama Pacifico as a zone or any of the businesses here, no, I really don't see that happening. It would be too detrimental to the country as a whole. Investment would dry up instantly. There'd be all these multinational companies that are part of the SEM and everything here in Panama would be out of the country in a heartbeat. I really don't see them doing something like that. It would just be detrimental.
And that's just Howard. I mean, Panama Pacifico.
Yeah.
And now you've got these other free trade zones over by the airport. They're popping up all over the country. You've got Ciudad del Saber, a city of knowledge. And it's just
Colon, you've got Ojo de Agua. There's lots of them, free trade zones. There's even one in Albrook now, Zona Franca.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Well, it's great. It's great. You can set up your business there and not have to worry about paying Panama taxes.
Yeah. Well, no, there's still taxes.
Oh, there are? Okay. Let me correct myself here.
The free trade zone is more about the import taxes on goods. You can store them in a free trade zone without actually importing them into the national territory. And therefore, you don't pay import duties until the time you bring them into the territory, or you can reship them without paying taxes.
Oh, that's okay. That's cool. That makes me feel better about that then. The only thing is personally, I used to live in Panama Pacifico. I lived there for about 2 years. It was during the pandemic and all that. And I would never live in one again. It's like, it's not you don't have the freedoms that you have in like the regular society. I remember I sold a couch, our old couch. I sold our couches, and the guy came to come pick them up. And when he tried to leave, they're like, no, you can't leave. You have to declare what you're selling. So we had to go do an invoice of how much we sold it for, take it down to the authority to get stamped just to sell our old freaking couch. It was worth like $200. I gave it away. What the fuck? I was like, this is so frustrating. And then when you move out, you move in, it's no problem. When you move out, though, you have to go through this whole process of moving out of the free trade zone. And I'm like, man, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, it does have some complications like that. But having said that, if you compare it to some of the other free trade zones, like Cologne. That's a lot more stringently policed in that you have to present your passport going in and out. You have to prove that you're not a Panamanian resident. There's a lot of other stipulations. Your car gets searched every time you go in and out. Where Panama Pacifico, because of the residential and housing projects, is a lot freer. A lot more of that onus on the reporting and controls is on the businesses, which I think is a good thing. It's the way it should be. Like we had a customs audit. They do these things on a lot more regular basis within the Panama Pacifico Free Trade Zone. So the likelihood of something being wrong is actually much lower because you don't sit years and years waiting between audits. They're actually doing this on a regular, ongoing basis. So although the control doesn't feel as strict, I think it actually works very well here, and that everything is much cleaner and more transparent.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I'm still not doing it.
On the housing side, not so much. It does make it difficult.
My wife likes living in the city. She likes the ability to do whatever. We have so much freedom here because we're only a 5-minute walk away from the metro, and almost everything, like her hair salon's downstairs. It's like everything's right in our neighborhood. It's like living in New York City, but it's just they speak Spanish. That's how it feels here.
It still feels like you're out in the boondocks.
Yeah. Because you're on the other side of the bridge, so there's certain hours you gotta. Oh, I gotta get home before 3 p.m. or else the traffic. I'm gonna be stuck in traffic for an hour. Those are the things I don't miss about living on the other side of the bridge. I hope it gets remedied when we have the new train that they're going to build. They're building a 5th bridge. Is it a 5th or 4th?
The 4th bridge, and I think a tunnel as well.
Yeah,
and they've started the construction on the entrance to Panama Pacifico for all the flyovers. The metro station.
That's cool. So we have a train that goes all the way out to the Panama Oeste, and that's really going to help remedy some of the traffic issues that we've had because it takes forever to get into the city and get out of the city. Well, Mike, let's wrap this up. Could you tell us a little bit where to go to find out more about the vaults and how they could reach out to you?
Yeah, with absolute pleasure. The easiest email is just info at fkmpa.com. I don't know if you've got a way to pop it up.
Yeah, banners.
Rather than listening to my terrible accent.
Oh, God, create a banner. Okay, what is it?
It's info at Foxtrot Kilo Mike Papa Alpha.com.
Foxtrot
Kilo Mike Papa Alpha.com.
I hope this shows up right. That banner. That one?
Well, yeah. F instead of Foxtrot, just F.
Oh, shit. Randy's a jackass. Oh, God. There we go. I got it. Yeah, but it also, you can go to Fort Kobbe. They got
FortKobbeVaults.com.
FortKobbeVaults.com and reach out to them through that too.
And Kobbe spelled with the Kobbe.
Yeah, and Kobbe, all it is, guys, is it used to be the Army base that was part of Howard Air Force Base, Fort Kobbe. That's what they used to call it. And that's actually sad state of affairs over there in the actual Fort Kobbe. Why did they leave those houses empty? They're just sitting over there rotting.
No, it's heartbreaking. And it's some of those old military houses, they're beautiful.
Those are the officers' housing, and they're just left there empty, and they're huge.
Yeah, I don't know when you were last out here. They've actually bulldozed down a whole lot more of them.
Oh, it's so sad.
And then they're still behind the old, where the restaurants and the pharmacy and all of that is. They still have those ones up there that they haven't touched yet.
I always told Anna, I said, if the shit hits the fan, we'll just we'll go live in one of those. We'll put a tent up in one of those houses, and no one will ever find us.
No, we still go walk in there. It's still lovely to go out, and
yeah,
a lot of that area is sort of closed off to vehicle traffic, so lovely to walk around.
Yeah, all the animals and stuff you see up there, it's amazing. All right, guys. So one last thing, make sure you go, if you want physical silver in your North America, check out Can-Am Bullion. The link's down below. Also, the Fort Kobbe link is down below the video. I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Mike, for coming out. It was great. I appreciate you.
It's a pleasure and great to catch up, Randy.
All right. Bye, everybody.